The ground trembled beneath your feet, not from an earthquake, but from the constant hum of cranes and demolition crews reshaping Birmingham's streets. Today, we're revisiting 15 everyday pieces of life in Birmingham during the 1960s. A decade of bold redesigns, new rhythms, and a city brimming with motion. Pedestrians walked through underground tunnels. Families shopped beneath a roof of glass and light. Young voices echoed from music halls and cafes. This isn't a story of what came after, just a look at how it once was. A city moving, building, changing. One corner, one song, one block at a time. Let's return to Birmingham, just as it was in the 1960s. In the 1960s, Birmingham's skyline began to change. Red brick buildings with iron railings and arched windows, many standing since the previous century, were gradually taken down. Streets that had shaped the city for generations were opened to the sky once more. Where they had stood, new structures rose, sharp lines, modern edges, fresh materials. It was a time of transformation, with each cleared block marking the next step. People walked past scaffolding and cranes daily, watching the familiar give way to the new. The city was in motion, and so was its silhouette. In 1964, Birmingham welcomed the Bull Ring Shopping Centre, a striking, enclosed space that offered something entirely new. Escalators hummed, lights glowed above tiled floors, and glass storefronts stretched along wide walkways. For many, it was their first time shopping indoors, shielded from weather and noise. Weekends were busy. Children pressed their faces to window displays. Parents carried paper bags with sturdy handles. There was a rhythm to it, a new kind of gathering place, where browsing felt like a small adventure. Everything under one roof, and always something to see. Birmingham, in the 1960s, introduced a new way to move through the city: pedestrian underpasses. Beneath the roads, these concrete tunnels allowed people to walk without crossing traffic, linking streets and squares in a quiet, enclosed world. Some had steps, others gentle slopes. You could hear your own footsteps echo as you passed posters on tiled walls. Shadows stretched long, and sometimes the light buzzed overhead. People hurried through them with briefcases, prams, or school satchels, always going somewhere, always beneath the surface. In the late 1960s, some of Birmingham's stations fell silent. Snow Hill closed, its platforms empty, its clocks paused. New Street, once ornate and grand, began to change. Its old features removed, its edges straightened by construction crews. Travellers still came and went, but the surroundings were shifting. Wood and iron gave way to glass and stone. Echoes filled the concourses, where once there had been bustle and voice. Timetables flipped, announcements rang out, and in those long corridors, the sound of departure never really stopped. By the mid-1960s, concrete had become part of the city's daily view. Housing blocks, shopping precincts, libraries and car parks all rose with sharp lines and solid weight. The material was everywhere, poured, set and left to dry under grey skies. People walked beside it, lived inside it, lined up outside it. Blank walls framed busy streets, and stairwells echoed with footsteps and conversation. It was strong, sturdy, and unmistakable. A building material that didn't hide, but stood bold in every direction. In the 1960s, a visit to Lewis's department store was more than shopping. It was an outing. Polished floors, soft lighting, and carefully arranged counters created an atmosphere of quiet elegance. People dressed up just to walk through the doors. Escalators carried shoppers between worlds, clothing, toys, perfume and homewares. Children clutched coins for the sweet counter. Parents browsed winter coats or furniture. And at Christmas, queues curled around the building to see Father Christmas in his grotto. Inside Lewis's, the day always felt special. In the 1960s, Birmingham was full of young faces. Teenagers filled cafes, record shops and bus stops, bringing noise, colour and energy to every corner. They moved in groups, laughing, shouting, singing along to the radio. Styles shifted quickly. Short skirts, sharp suits, beehive hair, polished shoes. Scooters zipped past street markets, and weekend dances packed local halls. It was a city in motion, led by youth with their own language, their own music, and their own rhythm. Every day felt like something new was beginning. In quiet garages and upstairs rooms, a new sound was taking shape. Heavy, slow, and powerful, it echoed the grit of working-class life. Bands tuned their guitars low and played loud, a music that didn't follow the rules. Black Sabbath was one of the names whispered early on. It wasn't pop, it wasn't polished, it was something else entirely. Born from the city's factories and fog, this sound would later be called heavy metal. But back then, it was just Birmingham. Loud, raw, and unforgettable. Tucked away in Erdington, Mother's Club opened its doors in 1968. It didn't look like much from outside, but inside, the room pulsed with sound and sweat. Crowds packed in tight, heads tilted toward the stage, waiting for something electric. Pink Floyd, The Who, Led Zeppelin, they all played there, often before they were famous. The lights were low, the volume high, and the memories lasting. On those nights, the air felt charged. For many, it was the first time music didn't just entertain, it moved the ground beneath their feet. In the 1960s, new communities began to grow across Birmingham. Families arrived from the Caribbean, India, Pakistan, and other parts of the world, bringing new sounds, spices, languages, and stories to the streets. Corner shops opened with unfamiliar goods. Bright saris and patterned head wraps appeared alongside flat caps and wool coats. Schools, buses and markets filled with different voices and accents. The city became a mix of traditions, meals, music and greetings, all shared beneath the same grey sky. The 1960s brought a new way to walk through Birmingham, a maze of pedestrian underpasses. Built beneath busy roads, they guided people safely across the city without a single traffic light. The walls were tiled, the lights buzzed softly overhead. Footsteps echoed off the concrete, sometimes joined by the squeak of a pram or the chatter of children. Posters lined the passageways. Some walked quickly, others lingered. For many, these tunnels were part of the daily route, silent paths beneath the city's noise. By the 1960s, Birmingham's roads were being redesigned for cars. New ring roads, flyovers and roundabouts shaped the way people moved through the city. Wide lanes and bold junctions marked a shift in daily routine. Drivers followed new signs, passed freshly painted curbs, and navigated underpasses with ease. Petrol stations stood at busy corners. Families packed into saloons for weekend drives, while buses threaded between lanes. The hum of engines became part of the city's rhythm, steady, constant, and everywhere. In neighbourhoods across Birmingham, small businesses and gathering spots quietly disappeared. Corner shops closed, local cafes emptied, old pubs turned dark. They had been part of everyday life, familiar, dependable, always there. People remembered where they sat, what they ordered, who they greeted. Some places had been open for decades, passed down through generations. But during the 1960s, as new buildings rose, many of these places made way. The streets still bustled, but some faces, some windows were never seen again. In the 1960s, Birmingham was filled with the sound of progress. Hammers, cranes, scaffolding and steel, construction sites dotted the city from one end to the other. New shopping centres opened, new offices reached upward, and whole estates took shape. People passed building sites on their way to work or school. Signs promised what was coming soon, and each month brought a fresh unveiling. It was a time when the skyline never stood still. Every corner seemed to hold the frame of something not yet finished, but nearly there. Ask someone who lived in Birmingham during the 1960s and they'll recall more than places, bro. They'll remember the feeling, the sounds, the scents, the rhythm of daily life woven into every corner, every routine, every familiar face. You could hear market traders calling out, buses pulling up, radios playing through open windows. There was motion, but also presence, a sense of being part of something. People remember what they wore, where they stood, what they saw. And even now, the memory of it lingers, vivid and alive. That was Birmingham in the 1960s, a city in motion, filled with voices, footsteps, and change. Not a comparison, not a judgment, just a moment in time, lived by thousands, remembered by many, and still echoing in quiet corners and old photographs. If you remember it, or heard stories from someone who does, tell us in the comments. What stood out? What stuck with you? We'd love to hear your memories. And if this video brought something back, a feeling, a face, a street, leave a like and share a comment. It helps more people find the video and keeps these stories alive. Because sometimes, remembering how it was is the closest we get to being there again.